Coming up on the news today, then, we're going to be getting all the reaction from the game last night. Ruben Amorim has been speaking after that loss to Nottingham Forest, and I might be mad, but I almost feel confident after that loss. Is that possible? Am I crazy? We'll find out. Also, there's been more links to Ipswich's Liam Delap coming out of the Daily Mail. We're going to get into all of those, who United should be signing in that number 9 spot this summer. It's all coming up in the news. Hello and welcome to Stretford, Paddock. My name is Joe and we are still in Japan. Now we are in lovely Kyoto, but that doesn't matter because today there is still plenty of Manchester United news, and we're going to be looking a little bit back at the post-match reaction to last night's loss against Nottingham Forest, and we'll be looking at some transfer news as well. Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail has gone in a little bit deeper on Liam Delap, and that story seems to be unfolding. We're getting a catalogue of strikers that United are being linked with now. Liam Delap seems to be one of the stronger connections that we're having, but let's go back to last night first. First of all, United's lost to Nottingham Forest. They've done the double overs this season, which feels like ridiculous. I think it's only the 5th time that that's ever happened in, the 150 years that both clubs have existed or thereabouts. Manchester United obviously still struggling on the pitch, but I feel like I don't even just speak for myself in saying I thought we were good. I thought we played well. We controlled the game. We were the better team, and Ruben Amorim spoken about that in his post-match press conference and the reaction to that game. He spoke about making those chances and not being able to put them away, and basically said this is the story of our season. We make chances and we don't do enough in the final third to put them away. That's just because our attackers aren't good enough. And it kind of links to the story coming up about Liam Delap and about these other strikers that United are interested in. But it goes to show that with the right players, United will be scoring more goals. I think it was another 24 shots. I think some of the most we've had, or maybe the most we've had in any game this season, according to one stat that I saw. And United's XG, I think, who cares about XG, but if you do, it was over 2 compared to Forest's 0.5 or something. Now, a lot of that comes from that 24 shots and each one of them being a small chance rather than making big chances. But we did have a few big chances as well. Harry Maguire's shot, we also saw the couple of headers, one of them hit the post. I think it was Delap hit the post, the crossbar, apologies. We saw Maguire with that header as well. We saw loads of chances from Manchester United and we couldn't put the ball away. Garnacho was back to his frustrating self where he just cuts inside and smacks it from 20 yards. But amongst all of that, we controlled the game. We played really well. We built out from the back much better. We didn't allow Forest to press us. And you can kind of think how much of that was Forest letting us do that. Because they had the lead, they like to play on the counter-attack. But what they don't like doing is conceding a shot every 3 minutes. They don't like creating very few chances in a game. And I appreciate that they won the game so they can sort of say that their plan worked masterfully and everything went to, completely as they wanted it to. But it didn't. United were the better team. We had much, much more possession. I think it was 60-odd% possession that United in that game, almost 70% possession. That's much better. I don't think we could have controlled that game like we did under Erik ten Hag. We don't play the same way as we used to, and we're finally starting to see Ruben Amorim's fingerprints on this team and on these performances. And you can almost pretend the league doesn't exist at this point. I know that that's ridiculous, and we're Manchester United and all that, but the Europa League is the thing we're fighting for. And for me, I saw promising signs that United can beat anyone in the Europa League after that performance the other night. Forest about to get the Champions League football for the first time in however many years, 20, 30 years. Manchester United were as good or better than they were, and United can be better than they are with a bit of luck, with a bit more space that you tend to get in the Europa League. I genuinely think United should be one of the big contenders and one of the main. I think we're the team to beat in that competition. I really do, and I think that we're starting to see these performances improve, which is something that that mid-December run that we had for a month or so there. I was worried that we were never going to see improvements, and I'm actually weirdly more optimistic about the future after losing that game than I was before the game, which is mad to say. Let me know if I've just completely lost my head in the comments. But again, Ruben Amorim speaking after the game basically said the same things as me. He kind of wouldn't push it as far as I did. He said we can only blame ourselves. We can't sit here and pretend that losing games is a good idea. But United played much, much better than we have been. That's great. That is fantastic. Right then, moving on from last night, let me know what you think to the game in the comments. Am I just being deluded, or do you actually kind of know what I mean? That was, in a way, all right last night, although not, obviously. Liam Delap, this is Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail. Obviously, Chris Wheeler has had a sort of I think in the last 12 months has had a bit of a kind of renaissance in terms of his reputation. I feel like he had a lot of things right in the summer transfer window. He's got a lot of decent scoops and a lot of good exclusive stories in the last sort of 12 to 18 months. And I think that he's proven himself to be, obviously we get him on the channel occasionally, but he's actually a very reliable and good journalist, as we are generally seeing. And he was speaking about Liam Delap and how United have had further talks internally about the interest in Delap. I think there's a price range of around 40 to 50 million that we want to pay. Obviously Ipswich being relegated, which it looks like they're going to be, kind of hampers them in terms of what they can demand. If they stayed in the Premier League, you're probably talking in that kind of 70 to 100 million bracket. If they get relegated, which it looks like they're going to, they're probably going to be able to or have to accept somewhere in that 40 to 70 million bracket, which I think suits Manchester United massively. He's got 10 goals this season. He's obviously a very, very talented player. And apparently, according to this article, there's a 5-way chase for him. So Man United want him, Liverpool want him, City, who he used to be at, want him, which is crucial in just a minute. Newcastle want him, and obviously Chelsea want him, because Chelsea want everyone except Jadon bloody Sancho, who they said they'd sign, by the way. We haven't forgotten about that. I talked about that 2 newses ago. They're still umming and ahhing over that. There's a big sort of tie and everyone seems to want him. The one thing that could supposedly help United that they cited in the article is Jason Wilcox, someone who used to work obviously for Manchester City's academy when Liam Delap was there. So you would think and you would hope, and they suggested in the article, that could help United's chances in bringing him in. There is a personal relationship there. I would be slightly reticent if I was him to go back to Man City, somewhere you've already left. I would struggle with that personally. I wonder if that will kind of put him off. Is it weird? Is it kind of unwise? Do you have a weirdly high expectation if you go back the way sort of Paul Pogba did at United? Did that elevate the expectation beyond any kind of reasonable level? Obviously, Newcastle, they've got Alexander Isak, one of the best strikers in the Premier League. Maybe the best out-and-out number 9 this season in the Premier League. I would say that he probably has been. And then you look at Chelsea, more players than sense. I can't imagine why any player would go to Chelsea, and yet they all do. And obviously, Liverpool is the one where they're probably going to be champions. Darwin Núñez looks like he may well be sold in the summer. That one would be, for me, the most difficult fight United would have on their hands, trying to convince him to come to us instead of Liverpool, because you're going to play every week, you're going to be challenging for the title unless Salah leaves, and you don't have this weird thing of Manchester United being the worst we've ever been. Hopefully that won't be the case next season, but I think if you're asking me, I would say that Liverpool on paper seem like the hardest kind of one to topple in terms of getting Liam Delap. I don't know about him. I like him. I think he's a very good player, but I think that 10 Premier League goals, admittedly for a very poor side, he's only young. Maybe he ticks a lot of the boxes, and he does. And if United signed him and we were genuinely serious about signing him, I'd look for all the reasons why I like him, and I'd look for all of his positives, and I'm sure in the right system he could be a very, very good player. And one thing I do like about him, before I get to the things I'm not so sure about, I do like that he's a little bit of a knob. I quite like that. When United played against him, you think, who's that? And then every time someone does something, he's sticking a leg in or stepping across someone, it's Delap. And when you're playing against him, you hate that. When he's on your side, it's great. And we need a little bit more of that fight and that tenacity and that kind of, dickishness. We could do with a bit more of that at Manchester United. When things aren't going very well, at times it's too easy to beat us. Last night, I think we played well, like I said, but it got to, as the game went on, I thought, we're not going to win this. We're not going to get this back. It's going to end 1-0, and it did. And sometimes you need scrappers and nasty players in your team that just won't accept not winning. And obviously, you can't just win because you don't fancy it, or because you don't fancy losing, should I say. But I do think when you build a team full of scrappers, full of hard workers, full of people who've got a bit of an edge to them, sometimes when you're tossing that coin, putting the ball in the box over and over and over again, eventually that extra energy, that extra aggression might get you the ball in the back of the net. And I think Liam Delap has that in spades. One thing I do worry about, like I said, 10 goals in the Premier League is good for Ipswich, and it's decent, but it's not a lot, is it? It's not many goals in a single season. It's not like he's got a track record of bagging, 15, 20 goals a season at any level, because he's so young, admittedly. But I just wonder, Rasmus Højlund got around that last season, and we've seen this season that he hasn't pushed on the way we thought he would, and he's probably the guy that Delap's going to be replacing if we do sign him. Do we need someone that's got a bit more of a track record? Victor Osimhen is another name literally mentioned in that very same article about Manchester United signing him, about being keen on him. He's one of the names we spoke about on the news, or I spoke about when I did the news the other day. Osimhen, for me, has got a bit more of that. He's been there, he's done it, he's got multiple 25-goal seasons. He's someone that's been scoring goals for 7 or 8 years now. He's not just someone that, yes, Delap's had a very good season, and I can see how he could be very good, but when someone hasn't got to those levels yet, you can never assume that they will. Just because they could doesn't mean that they will. And we've seen so many players at United who look like, bloody hell, one day they could be a 25-goal a season player and never actually get 15 goals, let alone 25. So we'll have to wait and see. But like I said, if we are just going for this out-and-out, young, ruthless, aggressive, hard-working, tenacious team, the likes of Dorgu, the likes of Yoro, the likes of Delap, I can understand that, and maybe that would be perfect. But is there just a little bit of hesitation of, if you haven't done that, if you haven't actually done it, if you haven't actually put 20 goals up in a season multiple times, you cannot say for certain that you ever will do it. And that's my only concern. Let me know, again, your thoughts in the comments. Right, that is going to be all from me. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure, of course, you stay tuned to the channel. Plenty coming up later on today and in the build-up to the derby at the weekend as well. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been the news from Kyoto, Japan. We'll see you in a bit.